Hi, this is Joe from makeawebsite.org, and today I'm going to show you how to search for a great domain name. Now, you can get a domain name pretty much anywhere on the web. There are all these websites like GoDaddy, and there are a million out there that try to just get you to register a domain. But we're going to show you how to not just get a domain name, but a great one. And so before we start, as we go through this article, and if you are visiting us on YouTube, you can click on the link right below and you can read this whole article. But I'm going to explain it to you and show you a few extra pointers as well. But basically, in the eyes of Google, .com, .net, and .org all have the same value. Everything else, .tv, .info, they have a little harder time ranking on Google. So as long as you have .com, .net, and .org, you're fine. And I used to be a real stickler, and I used to only want to have .coms, but now it's all just about making money. And so as long as you have one of these three, you're all set. So the next thing we're going to talk about is what is an exact match domain name, known in the SEO world as an EMD. Now, an exact match domain name is a name that matches a term that gets searched a lot into Google. And as we have here some examples, creditcards.com, pharmacy.net, these are domains that have value in three different ways. Number one, it has automatic name recognition. So that right away, if you're on, for example, way back in the day, there was toys.com, and it just instantly, if the person has toys.com, they have to be legitimate. It helps you rank in Google, and for the naysayers, there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, it doesn't help you anymore, and it does, I promise. And number three, and this should be almost number two instead of number three, but when a user scrolls through Google, and as you can see the example that we made here, if you type in Visa credit card, you can see that Google highlights the URL that matches the search. So for example, if you were just to have a site that said, Joey's Cards, it wouldn't highlight like a Christmas tree like this does. See how not only this, but the category that they have for Visa also lights up. And actually, creditcards.com actually outranks Visa. So you can see how valuable that these exact match domain names are. And so, as we say here, to put it simply, it's the easiest way to rank for a specific keyword. So if you want to make a website about golden retrievers, you want to try and get goldenretrievers.com. If you're trying to get, like in the example I'll show you on the bottom of this site with Make a Website, when I originally was looking for a domain about helping people create a website or make a website, this is the domain that I found. Obviously, I wanted to get the .com or .net, but I stumbled upon this, but we'll get to that later. So what are we looking for in a domain name? Now, if you're looking for a great domain name, especially a really good one, such as creditcards.com or something that gets searched a real lot into Google, you may have to make some concessions. And the common concessions that I've made in the past is, number one, I've had to usually settle for a dash. And one is really okay. And sometimes it's even great at separating the words, such as harleydavidson.com. They have a dash, and if you type in Harley Davidson without the dash, it forwards you to the dash. So it's not like they couldn't get the domain name Harley Davidson. They have it. They just like the dash to help separate it out. Sometimes adding an S to the end of the domain name helps. So if you were just looking for, say, creditcard.com, or if you were just looking for computer.com or something like that, usually adding an S will help you out, even though it doesn't get searched as much with an S for some words. But adding an S is the most simple way to get around not having the specific name you want. And also, you may have to go with a synonym. Now, Google is really getting better at recognizing synonyms and lighting them up like this when you type in the synonym. So for example, if we were to type in make a website, let's say from scratch, you'll see that right here, create a website lights up. And so that's how you know if Google recognizes a synonym or not. You can just type in the keyword into Google, and if it lights up, then you know Google recognizes it as a synonym, and that it may not be as great, but it's definitely a huge plus when doing so. So how to buy a domain name. This is probably the easiest part. There are three ways to go about this. You can go through GoDaddy, and that's the most simple to see if it's available or not. A website that I really like that is like the eBay for domain names is a website that's called Sea-Doo, which is a lot of people that are just hanging on to domain names. They don't really want to build them, or maybe they don't know how, but they know it's a good domain name and they may have it for sale. You always want to check Sea-Doo because they have all the domain names out there that if the owner has an intention of selling. Number three is if they're not for sale, but you know that the site's not up, you can go on a site called whois.net. And what Whois is a website that is basically the owner directory for domain names. So, for example, if we type in makeawebsite.org, it's already registered. And as you can see, I've made this private so that no one can see what what the owner is. But this is where all the information would be. And if they had an email, if I had an email, my email would show up right here. And what you can usually do is write an email to the owner saying, hey, look, I'm looking for, see if your domain, if you're looking to sell, if so, what price. And if they are interested in selling, you can do what's called a transfer, which is much easier than it sounds. Usually people at this point, they get overwhelmed and say, oh, no, I'll just do something that's available. But at this point, you want to use a website called escrow.com, which will hold the money and it will verify that you get the domain name without dispersing your funds to the other person. Or if you're a little bit more trustworthy, you can use PayPal. But I would use a little discretion with that because someone could take the money and run, and PayPal sometimes is iffy on situations like this. I've never had a problem, but I just have to say it to say it. And when you do the transfer, what they're going to do is if you say do it through GoDaddy or whoever it is, you're going to get three numbers that they're going to send to the owner, and the owner is going to have to send them to you. They are the transaction ID, security code, and the authorization code. And so once you get those, you can transfer it over, and then it'll be in your account. Now, how to search for a domain name. We're kind of backtracking here. Basically, how do you know how popular the keywords that you're looking for are? And a way to do this is to go into one of two websites. But what you're going to be looking for is just basically two main figures at first, which is how many times is the keyword being searched into Google. How many times is the person are people exactly typing in the keywords such as credit cards or pharmacy into Google, and the cost per click, which is how much are advertisers willing to pay for that keyword just for one click. And so these two are basically the main things when you're looking for, or the main factors when you're looking for a domain name. And then after that is anyone advertising? And we'll get that into just a little bit.